So, what is Tor? Tor is short for the Onion router, and it's basically a network of computers or servers designed to improve anonymity and privacy. It's the most common anonymizing network with the most amount of users, and it also allows connected users to offer hidden services or onion services. So these are basically deepnet or darknet websites, and that's what most people refer to when they're talking about darknet or the deepnet websites, even though it could mean many other anonymizing networks and hidden services networks. I should also note that Tor relies on onion routing. This is a technique that was designed by the US Army in order to protect their intelligence communications. You might want to use Tor even if you don't want to access the deepnet. You can literally just use it if you want to protect your privacy and anonymity. So why you might want to do that? Well, let's see what happens when you connect to a website. So let's say, for example, you open your browser and you navigate to google.com or facebook.com. By default, without really doing or trying anything, these websites will be able to see your location, your browser version, your operating system, and much more information. And it doesn't stop there. For example, because you use Google to search for a lot of things, Google can see everything you search right now and even everything that you searched before. Not only that, but again, big websites such as Google and Facebook, they can even potentially access your activity outside of these websites. They use this relying on the features they offer to other websites. For example, any website that would have a Google or a Facebook share button would have a piece of code from Google or from Facebook running on their website, and again, Google and Facebook use this code in order to see which websites you visit, and obviously they use that in order to serve you ads related to you. We all know that. You search for something and you start seeing it everywhere else. But it doesn't stop there. We've all read the Cambridge Analytica scandal and how they were able to access private information about Facebook users, and it doesn't even stop at this. There are several reports reporting that websites such as Facebook create ghost profiles, so profiles for people that don't even have a Facebook account. So you might think, okay, I don't have a Facebook account, they can't really track me. No, they still probably have a profile about you because, like I said, any website that you visit that has a Facebook like button or a Facebook share button will collect data about you, and Facebook is not going to stop there. They will create a profile, they'll add some name to it or some identity to it, and they'll have all the things related to you, what you like, what websites you visit, what did you purchase recently, and so on. This is only what's been reported, so you can only imagine what's happening without getting caught and without being reported. So, what's the solution? Well, Tor is actually a pretty good solution to prevent this. So, when you connect to Tor, you can imagine Tor being this really big network, and it has a large number of servers. So, each circle in here is literally a server in the Tor network. So you'll connect to Tor, and let's say you want to go to google.com. What's going to happen is your request is going to bounce over 3 different servers or 3 different nodes before it goes to Google. So Google can only see the last node or the last server or the last computer that the request was sent from. It can't see you or the original user. Keep in mind that these servers are shared, so at any point of time, there would be millions of users using the Tor network, so there would be lots of requests going in and out of each node. So when you're going into this node, you're not the only user accessing this node. So there are lots of requests coming in and out of here, same in here, and same in here. So this node could potentially be sending thousands of requests out to a number of websites. Therefore, whatever website these requests are going to, it is very hard for it to profile that request or to know where that request came from. Also, data sent within the Tor network is always encrypted. So you can see the green arrows in here. These represent encrypted data. And the only 2 times where your data is sent unencrypted is the red arrows. So it's when you try to send something to the Tor network, and it's when data leave the Tor network. This arrow right here is not very important because if the target website uses HTTPS, or if you're using a browser plugin that forces HTTPS, then this data right here will be encrypted by HTTPS, by SSL. So the only point where your data is sent unencrypted is when you're sending data to Tor. Also, keep in mind, whenever you're sending data to Tor, even to your internet service provider, they can see that you're trying to access Tor, but they won't be able to see the websites you're trying to access. So all they'll be able to see is this person right here is trying to access Tor, but they won't really be able to see that you're trying to go to google.com. So even if there was a hacker or even if there was censorship in place, they really won't be able to see which websites you're going to. They'll only be able to see that you're accessing the Tor network. In the previous lecture, we learned that Tor is an anonymizing network that we can use in order to protect our anonymity and privacy. We learned that it works because it has a number of computers or nodes connected to the network, and then when we send data through the network, it'll bounce over a minimum of 3 nodes before it goes to the destination. Now, I also mentioned in the previous lecture that Tor allows connected devices to host or to offer services. Now, these services can be a simple website, and because these websites are connected to Tor, they will benefit from the anonymity that Tor offers, and therefore they're usually referred to as Tor hidden services or onion services. So this diagram right here would usually look more like this in real life. So you'd have some nodes or relays which you can use in order to go to a certain destination on the internet. But at the same time, some of the connected nodes or some of the connected devices are actually acting as onion services. So these are similar to normal websites that you see on the internet, but they exist within the Tor network. They also use a really smart protocol developed by Tor, which is designed to hide the identity of the server offering the service and the client trying to access the service. So whenever you try to access a Tor service, at any point of time, both the client and the server offering the service do not know where or who the other party is. So let's say instead of trying to go to google.com, you try to go to this onion service right here. What's going to happen is you're going to connect to the Tor network. Again, connection right here is not encrypted by Tor, but the ISP, like I said, the internet service provider or any other entity trying to censor your connection, they won't be able to see that you're trying to access an onion service. They'll only be able to see that you're connecting to the Tor network. Then, once you're in the network, you're going to bounce your request over a random node. You're going to go to a second random node. And finally, instead of going to a third node, then out to the internet, to another website on the internet, on the surface web, you're going to stay within the Tor network and you're literally just going to go to your onion service. Now, whenever you try to communicate or connect to an onion service, the process is actually much more complex than what's shown in this diagram. It is done over a really smart protocol that is developed by Tor, so that when you connect to an onion service, you won't be able to see or get information about the server offering the service. At the same time, the server offering the onion service or the hidden service will not be able to get information about you regarding your location or anything that can identify you. Again, all of this done in order to protect the privacy and anonymity of both the server offering the service and the user. Now, in the next lecture, I'm going to show you how to connect to Tor, how to access a hidden service, and you'll be able to understand this better. Okay, so now that we understand that Tor is basically a network of devices connected to each other that we can use to improve our privacy and anonymity, the question is, how can we connect to this network and use it? Well, the answer is actually very simple. You can configure your computer, regardless of what operating system it uses, to route all traffic through the Tor network, and that way, hopefully, everything will flow through the network, protecting your privacy and anonymity. Sadly, though, this is not always the case, as you probably have a lot of programs that I don't even know of that could leak information about you, potentially revealing your location, your IP, and more information. Not only that, but you could be running an unpatched version of Windows or Linux or even OS X. Also, your browser could leak information about you, even if you think you properly configured it to use Tor. Also, a lot of us use browser plugins and browser extensions, which also could potentially leak information. And finally, we have the exit node problem. In the previous lecture, I already mentioned that when you connect to Tor, all the data in green in here is sent encrypted, and at any time, none of the nodes know what website you want to go to. They only know the address of the next node so they can forward the data to the next node. But as I mentioned, the red arrow in here means the data leaving in here will leave unencrypted unless HTTPS is used. So you'll have to go and manually install HTTPS everywhere to force data to be sent over HTTPS. Also, we have this node right here. This is known as the exit node. And the problem here is anybody can actually configure a computer to work as a node in the Tor network. And if your computer is an exit node, you will be able to see this data leaving unencrypted. So you have to trust this person if you're really using the Tor network, as they can potentially see everything you do. Now, like I said in the previous lecture, if the target website uses HTTPS, or if you're using a plugin that will force HTTPS connections, then this will be okay because the data will be encrypted by SSL, because HTTPS encrypts the HTTP data, so you'll be fine. But this is again another step that you have to take and another plugin that you have to install on your browser in order to make sure that your data is fully encrypted along the whole way. And even if someone is able to see this data, such as the person running the exit node here, or if there is someone in here intercepting the connection, even if they capture the data, they'll not be able to read it because it will be encrypted. So, like I said, there's a lot of steps to do if you want to configure your computer to use the Tor network. And even if you do all of that, you could miss a tiny or a small detail that could potentially leak information and reveal your identity. Therefore, a better solution is to either use the Tor browser, and we'll talk about that in the next section. This is a web browser designed by the same people that run the Tor network. It routes all the data through the Tor network by default. It also has a lot of other features to prevent leaking your information and ensuring the data that you send is always encrypted. This is the simplest and a good solution. A better solution would be to use Tails, which is a Linux distro designed for anonymity and privacy. And the best solution would be using CubesOS, with Unix Gateway, which is an amazing operating system that is very, very secure and also can be configured to use Tor by default, improving your security and anonymity and privacy. Now we will go over all of this in the next lectures, starting with the simplest and easiest, and we'll end with the more complex but the best approach.